The theme of today's event is very much sustainability, energy efficiency, waste management, water treatment within the Irish food processing sector. However, throughout the day, you'll notice of the presentations, there's also a very, very big element of communication within all of the presentations that you see today. Communication internally within our processing facilities, as well as externally within our communities, and of course overseas internationally. And that's why we're here today, communication. Take the opportunity to speak to the other delegates that are in the room. They've faced challenges that you may be facing. They have success stories that you're trying to achieve. Network today, that's what today is all about. And the reason I mention that is we'd very much appreciate your questions to the panel and to our chairman, Conor Malloy, who I'm going to introduce you to now. Conor Malloy he's MD of Authentic Energy. But Conor also is he's the founding member of EMPI, that's Energy Management Professionals of Ireland. Conor also has he's part of the EU's energy management working groups, and has helped publish the ISO 50001 standard. I'm going to hand you over to Conor, and I hope you all enjoy the day. Hopefully we won't have too many interruptions, but there is still a lot of people to arrive, and the seats will fill up, so hopefully there will be a person to your left and a person to your right later on this morning. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much indeed, and thanks for the intro, Ronan. I suppose one quick announcement, housekeeping-wise: if you own 07CN1829, it's a Nissan, your lights are on. Okay, so just whoever's there, just to nip out there and save some energy. I suppose just the quick show of hands in terms of the question: how many people in the room are aware of what's happened with oil prices and the largest drop in history? Yeah, okay, great. Because when you see a big drop in oil prices, companies tend to watch the euros rather than the amount, and that leads to an increased amount of waste. All right, so what we'd be saying to you is that this is the time to be vigilant and to, you know, increase the investment that you have in your sustainability programs, and to manage and watch out for that, to ensure that even though the costs are going down, that your carbon doesn't go up when your eye is off the ball. Now, just speaking of that, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to the BIA Food Bank initiative. Mr. Jack Dunphy is in the audience, I believe, and he'll be going around chatting to you. And they're essentially the Waste Not, Want Not food charity, and they'd like to meet and chat to processors. So just as they're a charity, we'd like to give them a shout out, and if you do meet Jack, please give him some of your time. Now, moving on to the day, normally at this stage we ask you to turn off your mobiles. This conference is a little bit different. We try to make it as interactive as we possibly can, so I'd ask you to turn them to silent, and you'll notice that there's a chairman's note there, and it gives you my mobile number, and you're free to text in your questions rather than wait for the mic, because we're going to do the Q&A after our first three or four speakers. We're going to pull that together for you as a Q&A panel session before the coffee break. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Sharon Colgan, the marketing manager for Orange and Green. And last year, Pádraig Brennan was Borbia's spoke on behalf of Borbia as their sustainability development manager, and gave us an in-depth look at how the programme works at farm and factory level. And this morning, Sharon, who's the marketing manager for Orange and Green, will give us an update on the programme and how Borbia is sharing the story of Orange and Green. Over to you, Sharon.
Great, thank you, Conor. Good morning, everyone. 2 years ago, Ireland set a bold promise to the world that we would become a world leader in sustainably produced food and drink. And ever since then, we've been working to ensure that every farm and food manufacturing business signs up to the sustainability agenda so that we can deliver on this, to measure what matters, and to have it accredited and verified. At farm level, we've been working with farmers through the quality assurance infrastructure, building in sustainability measures, helping farmers use data to drive improvement, and explaining to them how sustainability can help them be more efficient. With the Carbon Navigator that was developed with Borbia in conjunction with Teagasc, we've been helping farmers measure greenhouse gas emissions, see how they're performing, set targets and improve. And we've also been measuring other sustainability criteria at farm level here: biodiversity, water management, etc. The result of that is that to date, 43,000 farms have been carbon footprinted. This represents 90% of our beef output. And we've started with our dairy farms with the introduction of the Sustainable Dairy Assurance Scheme, launched in December of last year, with 18,000 dairy farms on the journey to sustainability through that programme. We're also piloting other sustainable measures onto the quality assurance programmes in other sectors: pig meat, lamb, poultry and grain. And then at company level, we've introduced the Origin Green Charter, which is a guide to help companies improve the sustainability at the processing level. The Sustainability Charter, the Origin Green Charter, sets out 3 key areas that companies can focus on to become more sustainable: raw material sourcing, manufacturing processes, and social sustainability. So companies work on the Origin Green, sign up to the Origin Green Charter, work on developing their own sustainability plan. When that plan is ready, then they submit it to a third-party verification company, SGS, who then verify that plan, and the company becomes a verified member of Origin Green. So since we've launched, this is a voluntary programme, it's important to say that, and we've already got 367 companies have registered for Origin Green. Now that represents over 85% of our exports. And we have 71 verified members of Origin Green, and that's over 70% of our exports. That's great because we actually set ourselves the target of having 75% of exports coming from verified members by the end of this year. But we have a bigger ambition, and our ambition is to have 100% of the companies, food and drink processors, on the road to sustainability by the end of 2016. That's so we can deliver on our mission of becoming a world leader in sustainably produced food and drink. So, for us with Origin Green, and I guess this is true of all sustainability initiatives, it's important, yes, really important, extremely important to set the plans and build the proof. And that's what we have been doing over the past 2 years since we've launched Origin Green. But equally important is clearly communicating sustainability credentials. So what I'm going to take you through is how Board Bia has been doing that on behalf of the Irish industry. But as you go through it, think about the types of things that you can do to communicate your own sustainability credentials. Because once you've got the proof, it's important to tell people what you're doing so they can follow you on your progress. So really what we're trying to do with Origin Green, yes, we're trying to drive a preference for Irish exports internationally. And in terms of Board Bia, and what we're trying to do to help you achieve that is we're all about building Ireland's reputation as being a world leader in sustainably produced food and drink, founded on the substance and the evidence behind the programme and communicating that. When we launched Origin Green, I suppose, over the past 2 years, we have been working with industry at farm level and factory level, really to build up the substance. We started seeding out the promise that we would be a world leader in sustainably produced food and drink to the world, gently seeding it out, but we were conscious that we wanted to build up the substance behind the programme before we start really communicating what we're doing. And when we started to look at how we could communicate, we looked at everything within Board Bia, and we aligned our whole agenda in Board Bia to the Origin Green agenda, because this is a huge opportunity for the country and a huge opportunity for the industry. So what we did was simply realigned the things that we had at our disposal, I suppose, that we could realign to the Origin Green agenda. And in developing our plan, we looked at the things that we have that we could reshape and realign to the Origin Green agenda, the things that we could earn, and then things that we could buy, I suppose, and that's about, you know, advertising, really to tell the story. So taking a look at owned, and these are all the things that we have as Ireland Inc. We've developed a huge amount of content, particularly for online, because what we learned is that a lot of the conversations on sustainability is happening online. It's all happening through digital communications. So we've developed a bank of materials to help us communicate, but also our verified members communicate the Origin Green story and their own story within that. We've revamped the Origin Green website, which initially was set up as a website for industry, to explain why industry should become part of this, with a call to action, join us. We've revamped it now to talk to the international community, sharing with them what we're doing, what the business benefits are, and importantly, the individual stories of the verified members who are making up the substance behind the programme. We've created a visual asset bank, and this is for Borbia to use, but also there as a resource for all verified members to use. And the visual asset bank has a range of materials, again, to help communicate Origin Green. So on there are things like you'll find the Origin Green film, templates, presentations. So a great asset to help people communicate Origin Green. And when companies become a member of the programme, they also receive a brand activation guide. And the brand activation guide is simply a tool that will help bring the Origin Green brand to life, first of all within the company, which is really important, because those verified members who have actually engaged employees and taken the time to explain why the company has become part of Origin Green, why the company has developed sustainability plans and have brought their employees with them, they're the companies that really have helped embed sustainability into their business. And I know Gary Nugent from Rostera is going to be talking later, but Rostera, for example, would be a good example of a verified member who has started with the employees and embedding it in so that they can deliver on their sustainability commitments then, because with the support, it really helps. Again, this year we've launched an Origin Green platform for all Origin Green companies, so the 367 companies that are involved. This is a communication platform for that community. It's hosted by 2 Degrees, and it's managed by Andy Mullins down at the back, belong to Borbia. But this is a platform to engage Origin Green companies, and it's a forum for them to discuss issues. It's a forum for them to keep up to date on what's happening with Origin Green, but also it's a forum to share best practices throughout the world on what's happening in sustainability. So I'd urge you, if you're an Origin Green company, register and keep up to date with what's going on. In September of last year, we recruited 10 Origin Green ambassadors from various backgrounds, and their role is to go out to the world and share the story of Origin Green. They've secured placements with some of the leading organisations in the world that have sustainability at the heart of their business. And what they're doing is sharing the Origin Green story. They're learning from these companies and the placements and the projects that they're working on. They're bringing this knowledge back here to the industry and sharing again. So it's a fantastic programme. International trade fairs have always been extremely important to get them communicate the message of what we're doing here in the industry. And Borbia would organise over 25 international trade shows a year. So a huge platform for us to share the story of Origin Green. Throughout the year, we reach about 800,000 customers at these shows. We launched Origin Green at one of these shows, CL, in 2012, where Taoiseach was there to launch it to the international trade customers. And we were there again 2 years on, just a couple of weeks ago, giving an update on what we've been doing since we set the promise of being a world leader and explaining to the international trade customers what we've achieved in those past 2 years. We have 11 overseas offices, and our Borbia colleagues in those offices are on the ground meeting with buyers, sharing the story, creating awareness and deepening an understanding for the programme. So moving on to the earned bucket of activity, what we categorise here is public relations and anything people can write about us or say about us. Also important in here would be speaker platforms with Aidan Cotter, Pádraig Brennan, very much on the international circuit of sharing the story at relevant events throughout the world. In fact, Aidan is on a mission to a trade mission to China this week, and Pádraig Brennan is actually in Brazil sharing the story of Origin Green. So, communicating our credentials, engaging with trade journalists internationally has always been really important for us. And we engage with them in a way that invites them to come see what we're doing, not just telling them what we're doing, but come to Ireland and see what we're doing at farm level and see what we're doing at the factory level. So this has been really important for us to show them the proof, and has resulted in a lot of strong communications for us. But we've actually extended that out this year to go beyond just the trade journalists, and we've started engaging with the broadsheet journalists. And you can see there some of the titles that we had in on visits this year from 6 key markets. And all that activity is resulting in awareness and engagement for Origin Green throughout the world. And an example of an article that was in the New York Times in September talking about Ireland and referencing the great work we're doing here in terms of the food industry. In September, Board B got the opportunity to host a roundtable discussion with The Guardian. And Aidan Cotter and Pádraig Brennan hosted a discussion on building a more sustainable food industry. And this was great because it engaged, we had attendance by opinion formers and other influencers in sustainability. Nestle, PepsiCo joined us at the table to discuss this key issue. And the output resulted in a printed article in The Guardian. So another fantastic way of gaining awareness and understanding of the programme, most importantly. So through all these different activities, we are gaining strong advocates throughout the world for Origin Green and what we're doing. Jason Clay, VP of the World Wildlife Fund, he spoke at our conference, our sustainability conference, September last year. And since then, he's become a really important advocate for what we're doing here in Ireland in the industry. Most recently, at the UN Climate Summit, Taoiseach referenced Origin Green in his speech, saying we will continue our efforts, for example, through our Origin Green programme to drive carbon efficiency and shape the international approach to sustainable agriculture and food production. And at that same event, the CEO for McDonald's, Don Thompson, said, just last year I had the opportunity, which was phenomenal. I had the opportunity to experience firsthand the great work that we're doing in Ireland and the industry-leading approach that Ireland is taking to agriculture. So word is getting out, and we are getting the recognition, and we are building strong advocates, and we wish to continue to engage with them. 2 weeks ago, Jay Rayner of The Observer, he's the well-known food critic and journalist, contacted us after seeing Pádraig Brennan speak at a supply chain conference in the UK, saying he was heading into the UK Parliament to talk about food waste, and he wanted a little bit more information on Origin Green. And the results of that were that he gave us a mention in Parliament, in the UK Parliament, saying that the Food Board of Ireland, their Origin Green programme, which is doing remarkable things to footprint beef production and dairy production, we're not seeing a lot of that in the UK, and we need to see more of it. So again, people recognising that we're leading in this space. So next year we've Expo taking place in Milan, and the Ireland Pavilion, the theme for the Ireland Pavilion is going to be Origin Green. And we're really excited about this because it actually feeds in with the overall theme for Expo Milan, which is feeding the planet energy for life. So you see sustainability is becoming extremely important, with Expo even having it as a major theme. Very excited to have the Origin Green message in front of 20 million customers over 6 months. So you'll be hearing more about that, I'm sure, next year. Social media is really important to us. So I was explaining earlier that online and digital is where the sustainability conversations are taking place. And we recognise that we need to be in there in that conversation. So we're engaging with key influencers, the likes of you see up there on screen, through Twitter, reaching out to them, creating awareness for Origin Green, but also sharing proof points around what we're doing. Also through LinkedIn, we have an Origin Green group on LinkedIn. Again, I'd urge you to join us and be part of the conversation. And through LinkedIn, what we're trying to do is join in conversations that are happening and drop into other groups having these conversations on sustainability, share with them what we're doing. YouTube is also another important channel as well. Video content, it's huge importance now online. And we have our Origin Green videos on the Borbia channel, and we'll be adding to that as we go on. So then finally, supplementing all that, in order to really drive awareness for the programme, we would buy media and advertise. So how we do this would be, we really focus on 2 key periods in the year, and we do burst activities in European markets, in the UK, France, Germany and Netherlands this year. And we take out ads in trade press, but increasingly important, digital advertising, of which you'll see there, the likes of leaderboards and MPU ads. But what's important for us as well is that we have what we call an always-on activity piece, because people don't just dip into sustainability at key times of a year. The conversation is always on, and we want to ensure that we're there with that conversation. So with that in mind, we have a partnership with The Guardian, and it's The Guardian Sustainable Business section. We sponsor their food hub, so sponsored by Origin Green, an initiative of the Irish Food Board. And with this, we get to be part of the conversation. We get to engage with a business community of 300,000 people a month. And we have our own section on there, a partner hub, where we get to develop new content every month. Again, feeding out the progress and the proof of what we're doing. Search marketing is also important to us as well, so that we're there if someone's searching for sustainable agriculture, sustainable suppliers. And this is a strong part of our marketing activity across our 4 key markets. And this already, we're about 2 months into the campaign, and we've already delivered against 500,000 searches with the Origin Green message. So, as I was explaining, the past 2 years we've very much been working with the industry to build up the substance, but now we're ready to start communicating the proof points around what we're doing. And we've developed new trade press, new online creative, a new film, and we're in the process of updating our web content. So what I'd like to share with you now is the new film that we've created to tell our story, speaking to the international trade customers. If it plays properly.
Yep, that's it.
Yep, thanks.
Ireland is an ancient and unspoilt land. There are few places to which nature has been so kind.
For generations, we have intuitively understood what people everywhere are now articulating. That how we treat our environment deeply influences how it treats us. That the legacy we leave lives long into the future.
Now, from this deep-rooted commitment to sustainability, something extraordinary is springing into life. Our farmers and our fishermen, our food and our drink producers are mobilising together to transform the way we create food. 3 years ago, we introduced Origin Green, a bold promise to the world that Ireland would be a leading source of sustainably produced food and drink, independently verified at every link in the supply chain.
And every day since, we are making good on that promise.
On our farms and in our businesses, we are measuring, learning and improving. Then measuring again. This is a giant leap, made up of tens of thousands of tangible steps. It is a movement, eagerly embraced throughout our community, because its principles are in our nature. Three of every 4 food and drink producers have already joined us. By 2016, all will be on the journey.
So, if like us, you favour walking lightly over the land, taking steps to protect the world's scarce resources, come with us. Together, we can form a new contract with nature and unlock the natural capital of this precious land for generations to come.
So the intent of the film that we've created is that the film will always be shown in context, if you like, at the beginning of a presentation or as part on our website, etc. So it'll always be in context. So just to finish up, what can your company do to ensure that it benefits from its sustainability efforts? Well, I have 3 tips for you. My first tip is tell your story. So tell people what you're doing and what sustainability commitments you've agreed or you've committed to. Be transparent about them. Maybe pick your top 3 things that you're really focusing on that will make a difference. I've teed this up before, but really important second tip, engage your employees and do that from the start, because with your employee support, they will help you deliver on your commitments. But equally important, they will enable you to share your story as well. More voices to tell the story. And my third final tip would be keep telling your story, because sustainability is not a destination that you ever reach. It's something that you keep working towards, and as you go on that journey, you're going to be making progress. You're going to be affecting people positively with the actions that you're taking around sustainability. So share those wins and share the stories and keep people updated. So that's it. I thank you very much for your time, and I'm here with my other Orange and Green colleagues, Andy and Keane, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them for you during the breaks.